Thank you for joining us today. With me today are Police Commissioner Kevin Davis and Tim Krust, the city's purchasing agent. Commissioner Davis will be speaking on the Baltimore City Police Department's experience this past fall with some of the officers being equipped with body cameras. And Mr. Krust will be available to answer questions regarding the body camera procurement process. It's a tongue twister. Procurement process. As you are aware, I've been long committed to implementing body-worn cameras across the city's police department. I've also been committed to doing it the right way, to be deliberate, to be conscious of privacy concerns and cost. It's one thing to outfit body cameras across members of a 10-officer, 20-officer, even 100-officer police department. But for an agency of almost 3,000 sworn personnel, like the Baltimore City Police Department, one mistake can cost the taxpayers millions. There's a difference between urgency and haste. I insisted that we move with urgency, but I wanted to make sure that Baltimore did not end up with a boondoggle, wasting taxpayers' money. While some would have me rush in and promise to outfit all the officers within a month or two, and those calls were very loud and very persistent, this was far more complex than simply going down the street to Radio Shack and grabbing cameras off the shelf. Anyone who thinks that it was that easy, or it could be that easy, has never worked at high levels of government, or they've never had the responsibility of making multi-million-dollar decisions. Getting it right meant making sure that we had a pilot program that we could ensure smooth implementation across the department. To permit for the testing of different body cameras, we had to make sure that we had a pilot program that worked to allow the Baltimore City Police Department to fully vet the policies and the practices. Last fall, a total of more than 150 police officers were equipped with body-worn cameras across 3 police districts, Western, Eastern, and Central. And after a thorough evaluation, our team selected Taser International, offering Axon body cameras and cloud-based storage services. At tomorrow's Board of Estimates meeting, the board will be asked to vote to accept the technical proposal from Taser. Following the acceptance of the technical proposal, the city will then move forward with opening the sealed price proposal from the selected vendor. We don't know yet what the price may be. It's likely that our purchasing department may very well enter into price negotiations with the vendor, with the goal of having a final contract before the Board of Estimates by the end of February. Rest assured that Commissioner Davis understands that I want him to move quickly. The bottom line is, as promised, we're moving forward with our plans to bring body cameras to our officers, just like we have always said. I firmly believe that cameras will help bring a greater level of accountability and trust to our efforts to improve police-community relations. I've made it clear that this is what I want us to do, and I want us to get it right. This pilot program has given us the confidence that we are finding the right solution for Baltimore. Now I want to turn things over to Commissioner Davis, who will speak to what the officers and other law enforcement partners have learned from this experience during the pilot. Commissioner?
Thank you, Mayor, and good morning, everyone. This is, like the Mayor said, this is a huge, huge investment, and we want to get it right. The Mayor has directed that we get it right, and not unlike buying a house or buying a car, there's consequences to getting it wrong. Not only financial consequences to getting it wrong that taxpayers find unacceptable, but it would be a huge step back for our ongoing transparency efforts if we didn't get this right. So we have a financial consideration that's huge, and we have a transparency consideration that's huge, and that trust with the community is something that we need to get right and that we will absolutely get right. And I want to applaud the Mayor for being so deliberate and so thoughtful, and like the Mayor said, she has directed that her police department move with a sense of urgency and not haste, and that's exactly what we've done and what's been unique about our pilot program in Baltimore. Now, there are many police departments across our country who are still in a pilot phase of body-worn cameras, and I can tell you frankly, and this is based on conversations I've had with my peers across the country, Everyone's looking to see how this big police department, how Baltimore, our country's 8th largest police department, how we get this right. And they're going to benchmark it off of us, undoubtedly, and they're going to benchmark it off of us in a very positive way. Our pilot was a scored part of our evaluation process. So that's unique. Our pilot, again, was a scored part of our evaluation process. The mayor really wanted to ensure that the 155 police officers who participated in this pilot program, that their feedback was meaningful. The feedback was taken into consideration and was more than just notes written down on a piece of paper. So the 155 police officers who participated, their feedback was actually a scored part of this evaluation process, and that is unique. And that ensured that our pilot validated our vendors' claims. So that was very, very important. Some of the feedbacks that we've received, and I'm joined here today by our Chief of Patrol, Melissa Hyatt, our Deputy Commissioner Dean Palmier from Operations is here, Colonel Dave Reitz is here. He's been a big part of this evaluation process. Director Jaffe has been as well, our IT director. So some of the feedbacks that I've received beyond conversations with cops on the street, police officers tell me that it's a positive engagement with the community when walking on foot. They say that arrestees are more prone to comply with arrest. And they say when they're dispatched to areas based on citizens' calls for service where there's complaints of loitering or drug dealing or things of that nature, that those crowds of people disperse more immediately. And they also say that the interactions become less confrontational once everyone realizes, now when I say everyone, I'm including the cops in this, that there's a camera on the scene. It just makes our interactions with each other that much better. And police officers say that, and they're really happy that it reveals the entire story. And that's what you hear from the community. They want the entire story revealed. The cops want the same thing. So it's a really good thing. Now, the mayor talked about the devil always being in the details. So there's things that we had to really consider during the pilot program, like back-end networking, like auditing, like usability, like docking, data storage. So those are some things that we're still working out. Again, this is a huge step in the right direction. We intend to lead this nation when it comes to getting body-worn cameras right. And I join the mayor in her excitement to take this huge step forward that will benefit public safety in our great city.
Thank you. Thanks. We'll open it up for a few questions.
Mayor, can you give us a ballpark figure of how much money we're talking about here to purchase these cameras?
I can tell you, or Tim can tell you how much we've budgeted. But again, we haven't opened the price proposal yet.
Yeah, we've budgeted an adequate amount of money in this year's budget and looking ahead into next year's budget. But we prefer not to get into exact numbers for that at this point in time because we're still in a negotiation process and an evaluation process.
If you go into a car dealership and you tell them you have $30,000 to spend, they're going to sell you a $30,000 car. That's all we're saying.
Commissioner, can you talk about any negative feedback you received recently?
Really no negative feedback on the camera itself. There was a lot of feedback about usability, which one attaches to the uniform better, which one is easier to turn on and off, which one is easier to sync with your cell phone, which one is easier to tag. So if I have an interaction with a citizen that I want to tag after that interaction is complete, there's a function where I can go back, tag it, and make some notes. So those are the technical feedback that we receive from our police officers. But in terms of just the value of it, zero negative feedback, and I mean zero.
And do you know when there's going to be information about whether these videos are going to be made public?
We're working all these things out. This is a little bit like building an airplane in midair because it's so new to our profession, and we do want to get it right, and we do want to comply with the law, but we also want to be thoughtful and careful along the way. So we're working out things like data storage, and we intend to keep, absent a video that's attached to a criminal prosecution or some other court case, we intend to keep the video for 4 years. And that will, of course, be longer if it's associated with a criminal prosecution. But we're working all those things out, and it's a new area of law enforcement. And it will bode well for transparency once we figure out how to really effectively share it with our community in a way that complies with the law and the expectations from our community.
Just
Just to be clear on the process, the goal is to have a contract by the end of the month, and tomorrow the Board of Estimates is voting on, if you could describe what the Board of Estimates is voting on tomorrow.
Tomorrow, the Board of Estimates actually isn't voting on anything. They are merely opening the price proposal of TASER.
Okay.
And that's going to happen at their regular
So
noon
it's
price
bid opening.
opening. Correct, right at the regular noon bid opening. And they're going to open those prices, and we hope to get from that point to a recommendation of award by the end of February.
So we'll know the cost tomorrow?
We will know the bottom line cost that they have bid tomorrow.
Okay.
But we have left open the possibility of negotiating a best and final offer as well.
Who would actually have control of the video? Would that be somebody that works for the department and the city, or would it be an outside vendor? And is access something that's going to be critical as far as who can access stuff that's already been?
Right, so we want to ensure that there's supervisory access. We want to ensure that Internal Affairs has access. We want to ensure that our partners with the state's attorney's office, I think Tammy Brown joins us here today, have access for cases that land on their desk. So we're working out the access. It'll be robust, but it'll certainly be limited. And then we're also in the process of, working out how we're going to entertain those requests from the news media and from the community for video footage. You look around this country, you get all different types of protocols associated with that. So we're evaluating those protocols as they exist throughout this country. Like the mayor said, we're going to be the big kid on the block when it comes to body-worn cameras. There's a lot of smaller agencies across our country that have been doing it for a little bit of time now. It's just going to be on steroids here. So we're figuring out how to do that now.
But TASER, would they administrate it also? I know that for providing the product, do they provide the expertise that sort of oversees and handles the actual?
The data would be exclusively owned by the Baltimore Police Department and the City of Baltimore. Although they are providing the storage solution, we own and control all the data and control all access.
Can you state your name and your title?
Andrew Jaffe, Director of IT.
Commissioner, I had another follow-up question. You said that you spoke to officers on the street about how they've used it. Were there any particular anecdote stories that stuck out to you in terms of one officer detailing of interaction or anything like that?
Well, Colin, I think you were probably at our news conference where we showed some of the video to the media. I guess it was a few weeks ago. I don't have any particular date, time, location stories for you. I just know that our police officers, and it wasn't just the young cops who participated in the pilot. We had 20, 25-year veteran police officers. It was important for us to include a wide diversity of police officers in terms of experiences, et cetera. What they tell me generally is this: when everyone knows that there's a camera on the scene of an interaction, that people act differently. And that's probably a good thing. Because a lot of times, as you know, Colin, we're called to scenes where there's either a person or a family or a community in some state of crisis. And the presence of a camera really ensures that everyone acts probably more appropriately than they would otherwise. So that's probably a good thing for society. It's a good thing for our relationships with the community. It builds mutual trust and respect, and that's what we're trying to get to.
One more. Is there a make and model for this particular camera? We go online to take a look at what it looks like.
It's the Axon body camera.
Axon?
Axon.
The one that was used in the pilot?
Correct. This pilot was extremely comprehensive because not only did we have it as part of the evaluation process, but we were evaluating the cameras from 3 different vendors. We surveyed the officers who were part of the pilot. We brought in groups of officers from each of the 3 districts where they were during the evaluation process, all in the hopes of landing on the best possible technology for this system.
Was there anything specific that made this one stand out?
There were a number of things. The ability to keep track of the information after the video had been taken, the docking and storage systems, the battery life. There were other factors as well that caused them to score the highest.
Sir, could you state your name on camera, please?
Tim Krust, City Purchasing Agent.
Spell your last name?
Krus.
Thank you.
think